One, the only anonymous source WrestleVotes came out with a little bit of a bomb yesterday. And that is that not only will Monday Night Raw be approximately 3 hours on Netflix, which we did talk about uh last week, and WWE is not necessarily saying it's going to be a 2 hour show. They're not necessarily saying it's going to be a 3 hour show. Raw is going back to 2 hours from 8 to 10 starting October 7th, when that extension for 3 months with the USA Network kicks in for Raw. But the big news that was dropped yesterday was that SmackDown is going to get that extra hour. Now, again, there was a lot of controversy when the news was announced about Raw going from 8 to 10 p.m. And the weird thing about it was, for a decade plus, when Raw first started, July 23rd, 2012, that 1,000th episode of Raw was 3 hours, there was a lot of complaints, especially the last few years when they went to the brand split with Raw and SmackDown, and Vince McMahon seemingly losing his mind. There was a lot of filler in there. The shows were not compelling. SmackDown moved faster than Raw because it was a 2 hour show versus a 3 hour show. And now, with the new regime in WWE, a lot of people are saying that 3 hours, quite frankly, isn't enough with all the talent WWE has. And, I think, especially as I said, on the woman's side, there's a lot of women right now that aren't being used, and there's some like Pure Fusion Collective that have just started to get used and featured on a weekly basis. So to me, I do like the fact I think that SmackDown's expanding to 3 hours. I'm a little bit iffy on it being on a Friday night just because we know that Friday night is party night. Now, SmackDown had great ratings on Fox, but that was also broadcast television, and it was from 8 to 10. Fox is doing college football and then college basketball on Friday night. So maybe, the going out factor and partying and going out on a Friday night isn't as big of a deal as we initially had thought. We know during the fall, people don't go out as much, especially in the winter, because those are when the big football games come on. And, when it gets to March, April, May, especially in summer, then, people start going outside. There's not a lot of big events. We've seen that when the NBA Finals game four on a Friday night is not viewed as highly as, a game, three or two on a weekend or even a weekday, like a Wednesday night. So that does concern me a little bit. Again, I think it may affect some people's plans where maybe that 10 to 11 hour is a big drop off, a lot like it is for Raw during the football season. But I think just in terms of pure talent, the ability for WWE to really get more even with the rosters, because I think the problem with having a 3 hour show and a 2 hour show, right? When it comes to SmackDown, Raw having more superstars than SmackDown. Well, SmackDown can utilize its whole roster, and even with 3 hours, Raw cannot do so. So, if you take a little bit of those superstars from Raw, you add them to SmackDown and give SmackDown an extra hour, and you get the balance of, whether Raw is a 2.5 hour show some weeks or a 2 hour show. You know, I think Triple H has done a great job. There's been a lot of wrestlers who are taking time off. Not everybody's on TV every week, but when they are on TV, when they are in a story, it's very impactful, and they can take a week off and come back, and they're right back in the mix of things. So I think that's a factor as well. Uh, Again, I think it's all about roster balance, roster versatility. We hear these rumors about Lucha Bros coming in. We hear these rumors about, the Motor City Machine Guns coming in. Could the Hardys potentially come back to WWE? So there's three tag teams right there that I think all of them really would need to go on the SmackDown brand. I think there's more tag teams on Raw right now than there are SmackDown. I'm very curious if, as soon as we get to Raw on Netflix and SmackDown expands to that third hour, is WWE going to wait till April around the NFL draft to do the WWE draft? Or are they going to do the draft in January? And God forbid, please bring back a legitimate draft where you have Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis actually bidding for superstars, and they don't have the fake war rooms and the announcement from legends. I think they should do, the Tumblr thing again, and in real time, superstars find out where they go and the writers find out where they go. I always think that would be a more fascinating entertainment product because I think that's the one thing WWE needs to fix right now is the draft. But with that in mind, you know, I've always said that I think right now SmackDown is Roman Reigns' show. It's been that way ever since WrestleMania 40. When Roman's not on the television, SmackDown feels like an afterthought. When he is on the television, SmackDown just has this different energy to it. Um, and I think that third hour will add their ability to tell more stories, right? I think Raw has that ability now to tell more stories, to have bigger matchups on Raw, like Jey Uso, Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship, that doesn't necessarily have to be at Bad Blood. And maybe we get there on SmackDown with LA Knight in the United States Championship. Maybe we have more focus on the tag teams. There's rumors out there that there are women's secondary titles coming in, which I absolutely love. I think they should get rid of the women's tag team titles, quite frankly, and give, a women's intercontinental and a women's United States championship, one to each brand. That will certainly be the focus. Um, but I think, essentially USA Network is paying a lot for SmackDown. They're paying more for SmackDown than they did in this past network TV deal for Monday Night Raw that will technically expire September 30th. Again, the extension on it is for 3 months, and that seems to me like a different contract for those last 3 months for Raw, which is why it's going back down to 2 hours. So WWE in 2025 is going to be absolutely wild. You got John Cena returning, you got The Rock and Roman Reigns, you got everything going on with Gunther and the World Championship. There's a lot of things that could happen in WWE in 2025. Everything's looking up, and I think SmackDown getting that extra hour, depending on how WWE books things, will be a good thing. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.